I'm Matthew Martin, and the news is good. Tonight, you're so vain, you probably think this sermon is about you. I'm really excited to preach this Sunday. This sermon, man, I have to go back. It was before I went to Batesville, so I was still a guy. So 2017, maybe 2018. It's probably 2018. Just a few months before I left, guy. I had a sermon idea. All I had was the title, but I knew a topic, points and things like that would come out of it. I just wrote it down and I said, I'll get to this later. And I never got to it because I left Guy, went to Batesville and started a whole different kind of work, and the sermons changed and everything. So I kind of just always had it in my back pocket, never really got around to it. And then once I accepted the work at Vilonia and I moved here, I started looking at what sermons have I not preached in a long time that I need to preach. And I found this one. The title of it is, You're So Vain, You Probably Think This Sermon is About You. Which if you should know the song. And if you don't know the song, that's a shame. But that's what I thought of. It's just the title. You're so vain, you probably think this sermon is about you. So what's the sermon about? Well, obviously it's about vanity, but what? So I had to crack that nut. I had to figure out, what am I going to do with this sermon about vanity? And then it just kind of hit me when I was just studying my Bible. I was reading through Philippians, and I found something in each one of those 4 chapters that relates to vanity. So that's the sermon coming this Lord's Day, is we're talking about vanity and what vanity does. Vanity makes us swollen. Vanity gives us too high of an opinion of ourselves. But I'm reminded what Paul says in Philippians 1, for me to live as Christ and to die as gain. Myself should be dead, and Christ should be the reward, and Christ should be my life, and Christ should be my focus. And when I'm vain, I'm only thinking about myself, and I think too highly of myself. Like if you've ever heard someone say, or perhaps you have said, I must be really special because Christ was good enough to die for me, or Christ loved me enough to die for me. I understand the sentiment behind that, but that's not accurate. Christ dying for me is not because I'm special, it's because Christ is special. The fact that he would die for me is so remarkable because I'm not special, that he was willing to die for me. That's what makes him special. So, no, vanity makes us swollen. Let's not be like that. Let's be like Philippians 1. For me to live as Christ, to die as gain. And I am already dead in this world, and now I live for Christ. So I'm not swollen in my own opinion. The second thing is vanity makes us selfish. We're consumed with self-thoughts, consumed with self-motivations, consumed with self-goals and self-desires. Then, of course, naturally, we're going to be thinking of self at the expense of others. But what does Paul say in Philippians 2? Have the mind of Christ, who humbled himself. Though he is remarkable and divine and holy and the king, he put himself below and beneath the pedestal in order to serve humanity. So have that same mentality, have that same mindset of Jesus, and don't be vain, don't be selfish. The other thing vanity does is it makes us complacent. When we're thinking of ourselves and full of ourselves, we tend not to worry about others and not to help others, and necessarily the amount of good that we do in the world is going to diminish because you can only do so much good for yourself at one time or another. Eventually, you just start sitting back and resting on your laurels and relaxing and taking it easy, and now you're complacent. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. But I'm reminded of what Paul talks about in Philippians 3, how he talks about how he's going to work to the bitter end, and how he's never going to have the attitude of, I've done enough, but I'm going to keep fighting and keep working and keep striving in the work of the kingdom. And that same mentality has to be present within ourselves. And if it is, we won't have time for vanity. We won't have time to worry about ourselves, to think about ourselves, and to take it easy, and in order to make it easier and lighter a load on ourselves. That's the opposite of vanity when you're working hard. And then finally, what vanity does is it makes us comfortable. Vanity gets us, complacent and lazy and slacked and too secure in our own biases, too restful and relaxed in the things that we need to be improving about ourselves, because we start to think, I'm good enough, I'm fine enough, I'm content enough, I'm satisfied enough within myself. But true contentment comes when we put ourselves in Christ and we focus on Jesus and we do what Jesus wants us to do. That famous verse in Philippians 4, I can do all things through Christ, is so often abused because the attitude people take from it is, you can do whatever you want and Christ is there to help you. Like Christ is your battery that you just plug in when you want to do whatever you want. No, that is not how it works. That's not what it is. The idea is you can do all things through Christ because Christ is empowering you to do whatever Christ wants. He is the one in charge here. It's not you can do whatever you set your mind to. It's you can do whatever Christ sets his mind to because he's the one empowering you. So don't be comfortable and relaxed and content to just do whatever you want and then go to Christ whenever you feel like you need him. I've made my decision. I'm going to do this and God will tag along. No, you're following him, not the other way around. So that's just some scattered thoughts about vanity that we're going to talk about in more detail from Philippians 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's a little simple study from a beautiful little book all about vanity. So I hope you'll be there this coming Lord's Day at Vilonia. You're so vain, you probably think the sermon's about you. See you then. I know it looks like I'm trying to be cool, leaning against my cool car. First of all, this car is a piece of junk. It just, it just looks sort of neat on the outside, but it's a piece of junk. So I know it looks like that, but that's not what this is. It's just I'm always trying to find somewhere else to stand when I'm doing these things, so it doesn't be the same thing over and over. Anyway, that's not my point. My point is, I'm probably not even going to have this car, after by the time you see this, we'll have just closed on our new house. And once we get, that all squared away, then we're going to get a new used car. So it'll be totally different maybe the next time I shoot around to these videos. So that's not my point. My point is, this didn't even cost me that much money. Like I got this for a song. Because like I say, it's a piece of junk. That's typically how I buy used cars. I buy them, I want one that looked nice but are actually cheap. And because I'm not going to run them ragged or anything. I'm not some drag racer, as far as you know. So, it looks neat, but I'll buy them to be a piece of junk just as long as it looks nice. But that's not my point. My point is, things are fleeting. My point is, I have these things, and I'm not going to have them forever. That I own certain things, and the moment I buy them, they immediately begin to depreciate. I'm sure you've heard that analogy, or the anecdote that you buy a brand new car, which you should never do. That's stupid. You buy a brand new car, and the moment you drive off the lot, even if you just drove off the lot, turned around, and drove right back on and tried to sell it, you would have lost like 30% of its value. I don't actually know how much percentage it is. I don't do math, but it loses a lot of value. Just you owning it. Just think about that. Just you owning the car for 10 seconds, you have depreciated its value. It's the same car, but just because you got inside it and because you wrote your name on the deed or whatever title, I don't know how cars work. You own it now. Just because you sat in it, it suddenly has lost its value. That's kind of insulting. Like just me, am I that bad? Am I that of a negative effect? My prayer for you is this. I finally got around to it. My prayer for you is this, that you will be such a positive effect on people that even if you are only around them for the span of one conversation, that they will come away closer to God than ever before, feeling better about the state of humanity than they ever did before, that you will be a positive influence on them, that their value will go up having been around you, even if it's just for one short car ride. Do not be the reason someone depreciates in value because you're such a negative influence on them. Be the reason why they feel better about themselves and the reason why they're motivated to do better for others. Be what Jesus says is the light in the world. That's my prayer for you today. Have a good one. One take. How do you like that? No one saw that.